Have you ever watched your entire life crumble because of one person's lies? I'm Alessandra Chen, and I'm about to tell you the most devastating story of betrayal, manipulation, and sweet justice that completely destroyed my family before saving it. What my father's new wife did to me was unforgivable, but what I discovered about her, that changed everything. This is the story of how a forced apology led to the exposure of a con artist, the loss of a $50 million deal, and the ultimate revenge that no one saw coming. Part 1. The perfect life shattered me. Name is Alessandra Chen, but everyone calls me Alesser. I'm 23 years old, and until March 15th, 2024, I thought I understood my family. I thought I knew my father. I was so wrong. Let me take you back to the beginning, to when life was still good. My mother, Catherine Chen, died when I was 19. Breast cancer. It was brutal. Watching this vibrant, brilliant woman waste away over 18 months. She was an architect, Dad's business partner, and the love of his life, or so I thought. They'd built Chen Development Corporation together, turning it into one of the most successful luxury real estate firms in Northern California. My mother designed the buildings. My father handled the business side. When she died on November 3rd, 2020, something in my father, Richard Chen, died too. He became a shell of himself. He stopped going to the office. He stopped eating properly. My older brother Marcus and I worried he'd never recover. Then, exactly 1 year after Mom's death, he met Vivian Blackwood. I should have known something was wrong from the start. Vivian appeared out of nowhere, a chance encounter at a charity gala in San Francisco on November 3rd, 2021, the exact anniversary of my mother's death. She was 38, 12 years younger than my father, with platinum blonde hair, impossibly white teeth, and a practiced sympathy that made my skin crawl. "Your father talks about you all the time," she'd said when we first met, gripping my hand with perfectly manicured nails. Catherine must have been an extraordinary woman, must have been, not was, as if my mother was already a distant memory we should all be moving past. But Dad was smitten. Within 3 months, she'd moved into our family home in Pacific Heights. Within 6 months, they were engaged. Within 9 months, they were married in a lavish ceremony on August 20th, 2022. That felt like a mockery of my parents' simple courthouse wedding. Marcus saw through her immediately. "She's a gold digger, a lesser," he'd warned me the night before the wedding. I hired a private investigator. Her background is sketchy as hell. Former executive assistant to 3 different wealthy men, all of whom had messy divorces shortly after she entered their lives. But Dad wouldn't hear it. He was in love, or so he said. Looking back now, I think it was loneliness, grief, the desperate need to fill the void Mom left behind. I tried to be civil to Vivian. I really did, but she made it impossible. Part 2. The poison drips. The problems started small. Little comments that could be dismissed as misunderstandings. "Oh, Alessa, you're wearing that to dinner." I suppose not everyone has a natural sense of style. Your mother must not have taught you proper table manners. Don't worry, I can help with that. Richard, did you know Alessa hasn't visited your wife's grave in 3 months? I go every week. I want to honor Catherine's memory, even if her own daughter doesn't. That last one was a lie. I visited Mom's grave every Sunday, without fail. But Vivian had started going on Sundays too, taking photos of herself with flowers she'd placed there, showing them to Dad as proof of her devotion, while simultaneously painting me as ungrateful and disrespectful. Dad started believing her. "Alesser, Vivian tells me you've been hostile to her," he said one evening in January 2024. "She's trying so hard to be part of this family. Why can't you just be kind to her?" "Dad, she's lying to you. I'm not hostile. She's the one making snide comments constantly." Enough. His face reddened. "I will not have you speaking about my wife this way. Vivian has been nothing but gracious, and you've been cold and dismissive since day one." "That's not true." "It is true. Marcus might have poisoned your mind against her, but I won't tolerate this behavior anymore." Marcus. Poor Marcus. He'd been the loudest voice against the marriage, and in December 2023, After a particularly heated argument, Dad had removed him as VP of Chen Development and reduced his ownership stake in the company from 20% to 5%. My brother, who'd worked for the company since graduating from Stanford, who'd given everything to the family business, was essentially demoted to a consultant role, and I was next in line. Part 3. The setup. The real nightmare began on March 15th, 2024. It was a Friday evening. Dad was hosting a dinner party for the Westwood Group, a massive investment firm considering a $50 million partnership with Chen Development. This wasn't just any deal, it was the deal that would expand our company internationally, cementing Dad's legacy as one of the most successful developers on the West Coast. The Westwood Group's CEO, Jonathan Mercer, and his wife Patricia were coming to our home for an intimate dinner. Everything had to be perfect. I'd been preparing all day. I'd helped coordinate with the caterers, set the dining room table with Mom's antique china, and arrange the flowers personally. I wanted this to go well for Dad. Despite everything, Vivian had been unusually quiet all day, which should have been my first warning sign. Around 6:30 p.m., I went upstairs to change into my dresser navy blue silk sheath that Mom had bought me for my college graduation. When I came back downstairs at 6:50 p.m., 10 minutes before the guests were due to arrive, I found Vivian in the dining room, staring at the table with a horrified expression. "What's wrong?" I asked. She spun around, and I saw tears in her eyes. Real tears, or at least very convincing fake ones. "Lesser, how could you? How could I what?" She pointed at the table, the beautiful table I'd spent to our setting. My stomach dropped. Every single plate was cracked, not broken, but cracked in fracture-line spider webbing across Mom's irreplaceable antique china. The entire 12-piece set destroyed. I don't understand, I whispered. These were fine an hour ago. I checked them myself. You did this, Vivian said, her voice shaking. You knew how important tonight was. You knew these plates were precious to your father, and you destroyed them because you're jealous. You're a jealous, spiteful child who can't handle that your father has found happiness again. That's insane. I didn't touch these plates except to set them. The realization hit me like ice water. You did this. You broke them while I was upstairs. How dare you accuse me? Vivian's tears fell harder. Richard, Dad came running from his study, with Marcus close behind. They both stopped short when they saw the table. What happened? Dad demanded. She broke Catherine's china. Vivian sobbed, pointing at me. I walked in and found her here, and all the plates were cracked. I think she did it deliberately to ruin your dinner party. What? I couldn't breathe. Dad, that's not true. I would never. Lesser. Dad's voice was ice. Did you do this? No, I set these plates 2 hours ago, and they were fine. She did this while I was changing. Dad, please, you have to believe me. The guests arrive in 5 minutes, he said quietly. We'll discuss this after dinner. Vivian, please help me find substitute plates. Alessa, go to your room. My room? Dad, I'm 23 years old. You can't. Go to your room, he roared. I'd never heard him yell like that. Not ever. Not even when I'd crashed his car in high school. Marcus grabbed my arm. Come on, Lesser. Let's just go. He pulled me upstairs while I was still in shock. We sat in my childhood bedroom, and I cried while the dinner party happened below us. I could hear laughter, glasses clinking, pleasant conversation. Everything was going perfectly for everyone except me. She set you up, Marcus said grimly. This was planned. She wanted you out of the way tonight. But why? What does she gain from making me look bad? Control. She's isolating Dad from us. First me, now you. Soon we'll both be cut out completely, and she'll have everything. Around 11 p.m., after the guests had left, Dad summoned me to his study. Vivian was there too, sitting in Mom's favorite chair, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. Lesser, Dad began. Mr. Mercer commented on how odd it was that you weren't at dinner. I told him you were feeling unwell. I lied to a potential business partner to protect you. Dad, I don't want to hear it. Those plates were your mother's most treasured possession. She inherited them from her grandmother. They were over 100 years old, and you destroyed them in a fit of jealousy. I didn't. Vivian saw you. Vivian is lying. He slammed his hand on the desk. You will not speak about my wife that way. Here's what's going to happen. You are grounded until you apologize to Vivian. A genuine, heartfelt apology for your behavior over the past 2 years, culminating in tonight's destruction. I stared at him. Grounded? I'm 23. You live in my house. You work for my company. You are grounded from both until you apologize. I want you to think very carefully about your actions and how you've treated Vivian since she entered this family. And if I don't apologize, his jaw tightened, then you can find somewhere else to live and another place to work. The choice is yours. I looked at Vivian. She was watching me with barely concealed triumph in her eyes. Fine, I said. I'll move out. Alessa, Marcus started. No, I stood up. I won't apologize for something I didn't do. I won't let her win. I stormed out, went to my room, and started packing up part 4. The Discovery moved into Marcus's apartment that night. He had a 2-bedroom place in Russian Hill, and he immediately offered me his spare room. We need to prove she's a fraud, Marcus said as we sat in his living room at 2 a.m., drinking whiskey. My PI's report wasn't enough. Dad wouldn't even read it. We need something concrete, something undeniable. Like what? I don't know yet, but we'll find it. For the next 3 weeks, I was essentially exiled from my own family. Dad wouldn't return my calls. I was locked out of my work email. My key card to the Chen development offices was deactivated. It was brutal. But Marcus and I started digging. We looked into Vivian's past, her financial records, the public ones we could access, her social media history, and slowly, a picture began to emerge. Vivian Blackwood had been married twice before. Both marriages ended in divorce with significant settlements. She'd been engaged 3 other times to wealthy men, though none of those engagements led to marriage. She'd worked as an executive assistant to several high-net-worth individuals, and in each case, there were rumors of affairs, manipulation, and eventual falling outs. But the real breakthrough came on April 7th, 2024. Marcus's PI managed to track down Vivian's first husband, a man named Gregory Hartwell who lived in Seattle. Marcus and I drove up there on a Saturday and met him at a coffee shop near Pike Place Market. Gregory was in his late 60s, distinguished looking, and utterly ruined. He'd lost everything in his divorce from Vivian 15 years earlier. She's a professional, he told us quietly. That's what I call women like her. She targets widowers or divorced men with money. She becomes exactly what they need: sympathetic, understanding, loving. She studies them. She learns what they want, what they've lost, and she becomes that person. How long were you married? I asked. 14 months. She came into my life 6 months after my first wife died. It was like she was sent from heaven. She understood my grief. She was patient. She was perfect. He laughed bitterly. Except she wasn't. She was bleeding me dry the entire time. Secret credit cards in my name. Cash withdrawals I didn't know about. By the time I discovered what she was doing, she'd taken nearly $2 million. Did you go to the police? I tried. But she was smart. She'd covered her tracks, made it look like I'd authorized everything. When I filed for divorce, she threatened to claim I'd been abusive. She had evidence, photos of bruises she'd probably given herself, fake diary entries she'd written. I paid her $3 million to go away quietly. My blood ran cold. She's doing the same thing to my father. I know. I saw the wedding announcement in the society pages last year. That's how I keep track of her. She's been through at least 6 men that I know of. Your father is just the latest. We have to stop her, Marcus said. Good luck. Gregory shook his head. She's very, very good at what she does. And men in love don't listen to reason. We drove back to San Francisco that night in silence. I felt sick. My father was being scammed, manipulated, and he had no idea. But Gregory had given us something valuable. names of the other men Vivian had been involved with. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus and I tracked down 3 more of them. All told similar stories. All had lost money. All had been isolated from their families. We compiled everything into a dossier: bank records, testimonies, marriage certificates, divorce documents. It was damning, undeniable. On April 22nd, we tried to present it to Dad. He refused to see us. Double quotes, Mr. Chen has made it clear he doesn't wish to speak with either of you until Alessandra apologizes to Mrs. Chen. His assistant told Marcus over the phone he considers this matter closed. We were out of options. And then, on April 28, 2024, everything exploded. Part 5. The $50 million mistake. He got the call from Marcus at 3:47 p.m. on a Monday. A lesser turn on Bloomberg. Now, I grabbed my laptop and pulled up the Bloomberg website. The headline made my heart stop. Chen developments, Westwood deal collapses amid fraud allegations. I clicked the article with shaking hands. Chen Development Corporation's highly anticipated $50 million partnership with Westwood Group has been abruptly terminated following allegations of financial irregularities within the Chen family. Sources close to the Westwood Group indicate that due diligence investigations revealed concerning patterns of unauthorized transactions and asset transfers linked to Vivian Blackwood Chen, wife of CDC CEO Richard Chen. Jonathan Mercer, CEO of Westwood Group, released a statement. We have zero tolerance for financial impropriety. While we respect Richard Chen's professional reputation, recent discoveries have made it impossible to move forward with this partnership. We wish CDC well in their future endeavors. The terminated deal represents not only a significant financial loss, but also a major blow to CDC's international expansion plans. I couldn't finish reading. My phone rang. It was Dad, a lesser. His voice was broken. I need you to come home, please. I need you to come home right now. What happened? Just, please, come home. Marcus drove me to Pacific Heights. We arrived at the house at 4:30 p.m. to find Dad sitting in his study, surrounded by papers, his head in his hands. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 3 weeks. Dad, I said softly. He looked up, and I saw tears on his face. My father, Richard Chen, who I'd seen cry exactly once in my entire life at Mom's funeral, was openly weeping. She's gone, he whispered. Vivian is gone. What do you mean, gone? This morning, Westwood's legal team contacted me. They found irregularities during their due diligence. Transactions I didn't authorize. Money moving out of company accounts. They traced it to Vivian. He gestured at the papers around him. I started investigating. She's been stealing from me for months, maybe longer. She had access to my accounts, my business accounts. She's taken, God, a lesser, she's taken over $4 million. I sat down slowly. Dad, I confronted her this afternoon. She denied it at first. Then she just left. She told me I was pathetic, that I was an easy mark, a lonely old man so desperate for companionship that he'd believe anything. His voice broke. She said your mother was probably glad she died so she didn't have to spend another day with me. White-hot rage flooded through me. Where is she now? Gone. She packed her things and left. She said she's going to file for divorce and take me for everything I'm worth. She has evidence that I was emotionally abusive. Photos, diary entries, emails. He looked at me with devastated eyes. Alessa, I'm so sorry. You tried to tell me. Marcus tried to tell me, and I wouldn't listen. We have to call the police, Marcus said, and tell them what? That my wife stole money I gave her access to. That she has evidence of abuse. Her lawyer already contacted me. She's claiming the money was gifts. That she earned it as compensation for tolerating my difficult children and my obsession with my dead wife. She's threatening a public legal battle that will destroy what's left of my reputation. We have to fight her, I said. With what? Westwood pulled out. I lost the deal. My company's stock dropped 23% today. I'm about to be in the middle of a scandal. He stopped. I'm exactly where she wanted me. The room fell silent. Then I remembered the dossier. Dad, I said slowly, Marcus and I have been investigating Vivian. His head snapped up. We have evidence. Lots of it. She's done this before. Multiple times. We have testimony from her previous husbands. Financial records. Everything. We were trying to show you. But you wouldn't see us. Show me, he said immediately. Show me everything. Part 6. The Revenue spent the next 3 hours going through everything Marcus and I had compiled. With each page, Dad's expression grew darker. When we finished, he sat back, his jaw tight. She played me, he said quietly. She played me perfectly. She's a professional con artist, Marcus said. This is what she does. The question is, what do we do about it? I said. Dad was silent for a long moment. Then he picked up his phone and made a call. Daniel, it's Richard Chen. I need the best attorney you know. Not for the company. For me personally. Pause. Fraud. Theft. Possibly extortion. Pause. Yes. I'll hold. What followed was the most intense 6 weeks of legal warfare I've ever witnessed. Dad hired a team of attorneys who specialized in fraud cases. With our dossier as evidence, they built a case not just against Vivian, but demonstrating a pattern of behavior across multiple victims. They subpoenaed bank records, tracked down witnesses, and uncovered even more victims we hadn't known about. Vivian had stolen an estimated $12 million from various men over 15 years. But Dad's legal team didn't just build a criminal case. They went after her civil case too. They proved that her evidence of abuse was fabricated. The metadata on her photos showed they'd been edited. Her diary entries were written on paper purchased after the dates they were supposedly written. And her emails have been sent from IP addresses that placed her nowhere near our home when she claimed to be documenting abuse. On June 10th, 2024, Vivian Blackwood was arrested in Las Vegas, where she'd been living in a luxury suite at the Bellagio, apparently preparing to target her next victim. She was charged with fraud, theft, and extortion in California, with additional charges pending in Washington and Arizona from her previous victims. Dad testified at her preliminary hearing on July 15th. I'd never seen him so calm, so controlled. He laid out every manipulation, every lie, every stolen dollar. The judge denied her bail. Her trial is set for February 2025. Based on the evidence, Dad's lawyers expect her to serve at least 15 years in federal prison. And the money. Dad's forensic accountants tracked down nearly $3 million of the $4 million she'd stolen from him. It was hidden in offshore accounts and cryptocurrency wallets. The rest was gone, spent on luxury goods and travel. But here's the twist that makes this story even more satisfying. Part 7. The unexpected victory. In late August 2024, Dad got a call from Jonathan Mercer at Westwood Group. Richard, owe you an apology, Mercer said. When we discovered the irregularities, we assumed your company's financial controls were compromised. We didn't realize you were the victim of a sophisticated fraud. I've been following the case, and I'm impressed by how you've handled it. Thank you, Jonathan. But the damage is done, actually. I'm calling to see if you'd be interested in revisiting our partnership. We've completed a fresh round of due diligence on Chen development, and we're satisfied that the issues were isolated to your ex-wife's criminal activity. If you're interested, we'd like to discuss moving forward with a modified version of our original agreement. Dad looked at Marcus and me, both of us sitting in his office when the call came. We were both nodding frantically. I'd be very interested, Dad said. On September 20th, 2024, Dad signed a $45 million deal with Westwood Group. Not quite the original $50 million, but close enough. Chen Development's stock rebounded. The company's reputation, damaged by the scandal, was restored. And the story of how Richard Chen had been victimized by a con artist but fought back and one actually earned him respect in the business community. Richard Chen isn't just a good businessman, one industry publication wrote. He's a survivor who refused to be destroyed by betrayal. As for Dad and me, it took time to rebuild our relationship. He apologized countless times for not believing me, for choosing Vivian over his own children, for letting his grief and loneliness cloud his judgment. Your mother would be so ashamed of me, he said one evening in October, when we were having dinner together at the house, just him, Marcus, and me. Mom would understand, I said. She'd be angry, yes, but she'd understand. You were grieving. You were vulnerable. Vivian explained that. I should have been stronger. You're human. Dad, humans make mistakes. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I'm so sorry, Alesser, for everything. For not believing you about the China. For grounding you like you were a child. For choosing her over you. I know. And I'm sorry to you, Marcus. I should have listened when you tried to warn me. I should have read the PI's report. I let my emotions override my common sense. We got through it, Marcus said. That's what matters. Marcus was reinstated as VP of Chen Development with his full 20% ownership stake restored. He's being groomed to eventually take over the company when Dad retires. As for me, I'm back at work, managing the design team that Mom founded. We're working on a new projector community center named in Catherine Chen's honor. It'll be the most beautiful building we've ever created. Part 8. The final confrontation. He only saw Vivian one more time, thought it was at her trial in February 2025. When I was called to testify about the China incident, she sat at the defense table in orange jumpsuit, looking nothing like the polished, sophisticated woman who'd entered our lives. Her platinum hair had grown out, showing dark roots. She wore no makeup. She looked small, defeated. When I took the stand, her lawyer tried to paint me as a jealous stepdaughter who'd never given Vivian a chance. Isn't it true, Ms. Chen, that you resented your father remarrying? I resented being manipulated and lied about, I answered calmly. There is a difference. You accused Mrs. Blackwood Chen of breaking your mother's china, correct? I stated a fact. She did break the china. She admitted as much to my father when he confronted her about her overall pattern of deception. Objection. Vivian's lawyer stood. The witness is testifying to hearsay. Sustained. The judge said, Ms. Chen, please only testify to what you personally witnessed. I witnessed her standing in front of a table of broken china, falsely accusing me of destroying it, and successfully manipulating my father into believing her. I witnessed a pattern of lies designed to isolate my father from his family so she could steal from him more easily. That's what I witnessed. The lawyer had no response to that. When I left the stand, I walked past Vivian. She looked up at me, and for just a moment, the mask slipped. I saw pure hatred in her eyes. Raw, undisguised. This isn't over, she hissed quietly. I stopped and looked down at her. Yes, it is. You lost. And you're going to prison for a very long time. Your father still loved me. Part of him always will. No, I said. He loved who he thought you were. He loved a ghost, a performance. You were never real, Vivian. You were never anything but a thief and a liar. I walked out without looking back. The jury convicted her on all counts. She was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison with no possibility of parole for at least 12 years. Epilogue. Rebuilding. It's November 2025 now, and life has finally found a new normal. Dad is doing better. He's in therapy, working through his grief over Mom and his guilt over Vivian. He's learned to be more cautious, more skeptical, but he hasn't lost his essential kindness. He's just wiser now. Marcus and I are closer than ever. Going through this ordeal together bonded us in ways I never expected. He's my best friend, my ally, my partner in protecting Dad. And me? I'm healing too. The experience changed me. I learned that sometimes the people we trust most can betray us. I learned that love can blind even the smartest, most successful people. I learned that fighting for the truth, even when no one believes you, is always worth it. I also learned that family is everything, even when it's broken, even when it's messy, even when it hurts. Family is everything. Dad has started dating again, very carefully, very slowly. He met a woman named Helen at a grief support group, and they've been seeing each other for about 3 months now. She's a widow, a retired teacher, And she has absolutely no interest in Dad's money. She splits the check at restaurants. She insists on paying her own way. She's real in a way Vivian never was. Marcus approves. I approve. And most importantly, Dad is genuinely happy. We had Thanksgiving at the house last week, Dad, Marcus, me, Helen, and her 2 adult children. It was loud and chaotic and wonderful. We toasted Mom's memory. We laughed. We told stories. And for the first time in years, the house felt like a home again. Sometimes I think about that night I was sent to my room, falsely accused and humiliated. I think about how close I came to just giving up, to apologizing for something I didn't do just to keep the peace. I'm so glad I didn't, because standing up for yourself, refusing to accept injustice even when it costs you everything, that's how you change the story. That's how you win. Vivian thought she could destroy my family. She thought she could steal my father's fortune and disappear into the sunset, leaving us broken and defeated. She was wrong. We're still here. We're still standing. We're still a family. And she's in prison. Some people might say I should feel sorry for her, that she's a victim of her own trauma, her own damage. Maybe that's true. Maybe something terrible happened to her once that made her this way. But she made her choices. She chose to hurt people. She chose to lie and steal and manipulate. She chose to break up families and destroy lives. And now she's paying the price. As for that forced apology Dad demanded, he apologized to me instead, publicly, in front of the entire staff at Chen Development. He stood up at a company meeting and apologized for doubting me, for not believing me, for letting me be victimized by someone he'd brought into our lives. My daughter Alessandra showed more strength and integrity than I did, he said. She refused to compromise her principles even when it cost her everything. She's a better person than I am, and I'm proud to be her father. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. So that's my story. The story of how my father grounded me until I apologized to his new wife, and how their refusal to apologize led to exposing a criminal, losing and regaining a $50 million deal, and ultimately saving my family from complete destruction. Was it worth it? The pain, the exile, the fear that I'd lost my father forever? Yes, 1,000 times yes. Because we found our way back to each other. We found the truth, and we found justice. And in the end, that's all that matters. If you're reading this and you're in a similar situation, if someone is asking you to apologize for something you didn't do, to accept blame you don't deserve, to compromise your integrity for the sake of peace, don't do it. Stand your ground. Fight for the truth. Trust that eventually, justice will prevail. It might take time. It might cost you everything. But it will be worth it, because living with integrity is worth more than any amount of money or comfort or temporary peace. My mother taught me that, and even though she's gone, her lessons live on. Rest in peace. Mom, we're okay now. We're going to be okay. And the woman who tried to destroy your legacy is behind bars, where she belongs. We won.